We are going to sit down and talk to one more guest before I wrap things up here for my week at the DNC. I'm very pleased to be joined by Michigan's Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson is here.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
It's great to talk to you. I want you to talk about the 2020 election in Michigan. That was an interesting experience for you.
It was harrowing. I mean, well, it was both. We saw the best and worst of challenges. We saw our highest turnout election in state's history. Even in the midst of a global pandemic, people stepped up, served as election workers, and ensured that democracy prevailed. But we also saw very darkness that lurks out there, that of people trying to and willing to stoop as lower than we'd ever imagined to try to overturn accurate election results.
I've been reading and listening more and more to concerns being raised by people about election deniers being assigned to roles with their county voting board where they will have the power to either not certify or delay certification of the votes. That's scary to me.
Yes, it is. And it's also against the law for anyone who's charged with certifying elections to shirk that responsibility for political reasons.
My understanding is, like, if you're, a diehard Trump supporter and you think you're going to help him by delaying or refusing to certify an election, you can be sued.
Oh, yes.
But isn't that going to be a lengthy process? What if it screws us up on election night?
No. So certification happens about 2 weeks after election night. It happens after the unofficial results.
So we will already know. The voters
results
of Georgia went for Kamala Harris.
Certification occurs after there is a number of procedural reviews, and it's called a canvass of the votes. The paper ballots are checked. We make sure that everything went smoothly and according to law, and then the certification and the finalization occurs. So if the people charged with doing that certification shirk their responsibility, we go to court to compel certification. That process doesn't take long. It certainly won't run us afoul of any national or federal deadlines, and it's something that we've gamed out and played out in 2020. We ensured things continued to go smoothly, even though there were efforts to block certification, and all that led to ultimately the transfer of power on Inauguration Day, notwithstanding several battles, metaphorically and in some cases tragic, and just a case of January 6th that unfolded between then and now.
So we don't have to worry about the rule or the law they passed in Georgia that said, well, if you have questions, we'll give you time to get some answers before we require you to certify.
We welcome questions and we answer questions, and then we expect certification. And this, I'm speaking, I'm in Michigan, not Georgia, but
I know.
We expect the law to be followed and certification of valid election results to proceed. And if it's not, we'll go to court to make sure it does.
You're the Secretary of State of Michigan. Is the process the same in every state, or does every state have their own
Every state has
process?
Their own certification process, but it's all quite clear and ministerial, regardless of the state that you're in. And so the law, and this is where state judges play an important role in making sure the law is followed, and where election officials can play an important role, and citizens in saying, count my vote. In Wayne County, Michigan, in 2020, it was hundreds of citizens who showed up to the county certification meeting that demanded that they do their jobs and follow the law that ultimately ensured the rule of law carried the day. So citizens have to remember we've got to stay engaged even after the election process to ensure our voices are heard and certified.
And when we say that people who incorrectly try to delay or not certify can be sued, what exactly does that mean? Is it like a civil suit where they have to pay money?
It means if certification, if certification doesn't occur, then you go to a court, and the court then issues an order compelling that body to certify the results.
But it's not a criminal case or like a civil case.
It depends on the
money?
facts, but certainly in terms of getting an entity to do its job, there are always court processes to go through and ensure that they do.
So what would you say to the people like me who are a little nervous about how this is all going to work.
In every battleground state in this country, and we've worked to make sure this happens, we have secretaries of state who are chief election officers who are ready to ensure all of these types of shenanigans do not inhibit the voice of the people. Whether it's me in Michigan or Adrian Fontes in Arizona or Cisco Aguilar in Nevada or Brad Raffensperger in Georgia, we have all been through this. We know what can happen, and we are determined to ensure the rule of law is followed, that democracy prevails, and that every voice and vote is counted.
So Joan Esposito should take a big breath and pour herself a glass of wine and maybe find something else to worry about?
We appreciate the spotlight on local folks who could try to cause problems in the process, but we want to assure people that those who are on top of things in the states are ready to go and that the law is on our side. The most important thing we can do right now is to turn out every voter, make sure every voice is heard going into the election, and then know we've got professional, bipartisan election officials really at every level in the battleground states alongside state judges who will make sure the rule of law is followed and that facts and truth carry the day.
Well, if for some reason Kamala loses, I don't think she'll be calling you and saying, Jocelyn, can you find me 20,000 votes? I only need another 15.
If she did, I would say no. I would say the record is what it is. And yeah, I think anyone who would ask an election official to shirk their legal duty and, quote, find votes is in violation of the law, and that's maybe the kindest way I can say it. But I'm grateful for election officials on both sides of the aisle who all of us would say no if anyone called us asking us to shirk our duty and do anything other than protect the valid votes and will of the people.
Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, I know you're very busy, and I really appreciate
Thank you for having me, and thank you for your show. You're wonderful. Everyone listens to you. We look to you for truth and information, so I'm honored to be on the show.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, and it's very kind of you to stop by.
Thank you so much. Have a great convention.
You too.